guys, and welcome to our channel. We are trekking with the Castros. We are a homeschool family with 4 kiddos with a passion for traveling as often as we can with a desire to make lasting memories. So today's video, I kind of was thinking, and I'm sure you've thought too, have you ever thought of things that you wish you knew before you started your homeschool journey? For me, I know I have thought that because I didn't come from a homeschool past. I was in public or private school. So as a first generation homeschool mom, and other people that I'm sure are homeschooling themselves who might be second or third generation or so forth, what are things that you wish you knew before you started homeschooling? So today I am going to share with you my top 10 facts that I wish I knew. Maybe they're not facts, maybe they're useful hints or tricks or tips that I wish I knew before I started homeschooling. And let me tell you, quite frankly, this was hard to limit it to only 10 because there are so many things that I continue to learn to be a better homeschool mom. So only squeezing in the top 10, this is what has been the most impactful in our journey. Of things I wish I knew before starting homeschooling 7 years ago. So number 1 is let the curriculum work for you. I'm sure at some point you've always heard this. For a long time, we worked for the curriculum. We were chained down to our curriculum, checking all the boxes off, making sure we did every inch of every lesson. We couldn't deviate. We didn't make it our own. My brain was just very black and white. There's no gray area, and we worked for the curriculum. So curriculum can look different. We can use it differently, and we have to remember that this is also why we chose to homeschool. So it should look different than public school or private school. It should feel different. In some aspects, I'm sure will mirror, right? School is somewhat of school, but it should look and feel different. So our curriculum should work for our unique family, our unique situation, our unique 6 seasons as we enter the cold and flu season or chronic illness season if that's something your family struggles with. So it was so important for that like aha moment to click for me to remember, wait a second, this curriculum, I am in control and in charge of this curriculum. This is a tool in a tool belt, not a sovereign policy that we must adhere to every letter, every cross your T, dot your I's. So that was a big one for me. I would say the second one is the value of character over curriculum. It's so easy, like I said, to get caught up in doing all of the curriculum, to making sure every lesson is being done. But who cares if you have a PhD and a master's degree from Harvard or Yale or some other school or VCU or Alabama, anywhere? What does that matter if you have a really poor character as a human and you don't know Jesus and you don't know God's word? For our family, that's important. So character over curriculum is really important, and it's easy to get lost in the day in and day out. And so continuous character development is very important. And I think that goes without saying that as us homeschool moms, we are with our young kids so much that we are constantly molding characters. And it's also a very humbling experience to see our own character flaws displayed in our kids' sin. So our sins are mirrored in our kids' sins, right? Do we yell a lot? Maybe use foul language a ton more than you're comfortable with. Maybe you're selfish. Maybe whatever your character flaws are, there's so many of them. I have them. I'm riddled with them. You see them come out in your kids. And so it's not only a humbling experience for the homeschool provider, the mom usually, it definitely lets us work on our own hearts and our own characters as we see our own sins and our own character flaws in our children because they're learning it probably from somewhere. And because we have the luxury of spending so much extra additional time with them, you just see these things a little bit more. You recognize some of your own bad habits when they come out in your kids, and you were like, okay, I thought that wasn't a big deal, but seeing it displayed publicly, like maybe I need to work on this at home. So character over curriculum is important, and it ties together beautifully with also working on our own character in the home and as the caregiver and as the mom and wife, especially for us. So things I wish I knew before starting homeschool. Number 3 is the fact that since we are a homeschool family, we are at home with our kids an absurd amount of time, more than if they were in, the government school, the public, or the private routes. So they're with us all day long. Whether it is unscheduled time or unnoticed time, maybe they are watching mom read in the Bible at the counter. That is noticed. Maybe they're watching mom just read a book that she enjoys. Watching mom have a love for reading will probably instill somewhat of a love for reading in your kids. Maybe you love to sew. Maybe you love to knit or to bake. Okay, so they're watching mom and they're going to want to follow suit and do these life skills. Maybe mom goes on bike rides, nature walks, walk around the neighborhood. Mom's outside. Mom's not sitting at home only in front of a screen. So all of these unnoticed, unplanned activities are being taught to our kids in one way or another. So we have the ability to be positive role models, instill good values, kindness, love, and we're also in a role of a constant discipline and constant direction and guidance of our children. As you know, it's never ending, but being at home more, we're constantly molding and shaping them in a ways that if they were at school for 8 hours a day, we don't see this, we cannot correct it, we cannot address it, we cannot see what's in our own hearts. So it is a great thing to even realize, like, just because maybe we skip history for today or we skip science for the day, well, maybe we're doing baking or we're out walking around together. These are real things that are lasting memories. These are things that they are still learning through. Maybe they just need to go outside and play in the mud and the rain for a little bit. 10 out of 10, way better than a science lesson that day. So it's just the little things that are unplanned and unnoticed that our kids are still learning from us, and they are getting amazing opportunities to be well-rounded adults in society, and just taking this time to realize, hey, we're schooling way more than we give ourselves credit for, even if it's not a full day of school. So number 4 would be find your rhythm. And it might take some time. Don't expect to be maybe 1 or 2 years in and you're like, yeah, this is going to be a piece of cake. Or don't expect to know it all. Don't expect to know, like, okay, this is the curriculum I like. Okay, I like eclectic style. Let me pick and choose. It's okay to take some time to find your rhythm. It's not going to just automatically be swimming. And I think other seasoned moms that homeschool will be the first to tell you, it's not a walk in the park. Someday everybody's crying, everybody's struggling, and mom too. So it's okay to just pump the brakes, be slow, be okay to new things, and to find your rhythm, because it will happen. So number 5 is do not get caught up in all the curriculum out there. I've done that. I'm guilty. Because it's overwhelming. There's a lot out there. There's constantly new stuff being promoted, being published, and it sometimes is just a trend that's really hot, that feels really talked about, but it's maybe not the best actual curriculum out there. I don't think there's like one curriculum that's superior to all the others. We use curriculum that is best for our family and align with our goals and our morals and our values and biblically. So another thing to keep in mind with, not getting caught up in the curriculum is if you constantly change curriculum, Maybe you do Saxon math one year. Maybe you do Abeka the next year. And then maybe you do the good and the beautiful the next year. And then maybe you do, I can't even think of it. I just went blank. Sometimes, while changing can be fun, and I'm all about trying to find your child's curriculum for their learning style. I'm an advocate for that. I think it's phenomenal. It's wonderful. And as homeschool moms, that's one of the freedoms that we have. The hang up that I found in that I wish I knew or someone would have told me is, well, they might learn this subject at this grade, in this level, in this curriculum. But when you switch, maybe they had learned that the year before and you were doing a different curriculum. Or maybe they learned that 2 curriculums behind or ahead. So not everything is going to be on par. Especially, are you doing something that is a spiral approach versus mastery? Because then it's very different. And when you learn things, and switching back and forth can sometimes hurt instead of make it super fun and helpful. Sometimes it's necessary. I think in history and science, maybe it's a lot easier to switch curriculums. But math and language arts, the further we got along, the more we jumped around finding our own, the more that I saw some lessons were skipped and some key elements that should be learned were maybe like gapping. So we've caught up, we're good, but we have learned stick to one, and if it's not broke, don't fix it. So number 6 is you do not have to check all the boxes. Public schools don't either. Private schools don't either. There are snow days. There are other incidents that happen. Do not feel that you must check off every inch of every lesson. If your kid's struggling, they're tired, they're hungry, mom needs a break, like maybe out of the 7 problems of that one area, maybe if they get 3 right, they don't have to do the last 4, right? Or if they're struggling, once they get 1 right, end on a happy note, and a positive, encouraging note. Also, I'm sorry, I can hear someone melting down in the background. Also, you don't have to do every lesson and the whole curriculum to finish it. People aren't doing that. Sometimes we're able to do that, but sometimes you're not going to get every lesson done before summer comes, and that is okay. Your children are learning. Do not think they are. They are learning well beyond what you think they are learning. So just breathe, mama. It's all right. I would say, sorry, I had to write them down because I knew I was just going to forget all these, but I put a lot of thought into these. All right, number 7 is don't worry about the stigma of your families and or possibly friends with the views of isolation or the lack of socialization. It's not the same as it was 10 years ago, homeschooling. Homeschooling is so popular. It is growing, statistically speaking, every single year. Homeschooling is not weird. It is the normal for most part. There are field trips. There are cohorts. There are local groups for support in neighborhoods, field trips, neighborhoods and cities and towns and churches. And all over you can find groups that meet up, whatever you feel comfortable with. On top of, you just know other moms. You just meet up with them. So a lot of times we're having to say no to things instead of like, oh no, we haven't seen anyone, we haven't done anything. You can meet up for science experiments. You can just meet up for parks and have fun. So do not worry about the stigma. I know this was a big one for me because nobody else in our family does homeschooling. So it was a little bit of a learning curve to educate them on why we're doing this. But I also then had to realize it's not my job to fix their feelings. It's not my job to get them on the same page as us because they're not in our family. They do not pay our bills. They are not educating our children. And what my husband and I have decided to do, we have taken to prayer, taken to God, checked it biblically, and we know that it is the right path for our family during this season. So you just kind of have to let it go, be kind, but be strong in the truth. But be kind. All right, number 8 is that it is fun. This one is from my husband. I actually asked my husband what is something that he wished he knew before we started homeschooling. He is not from this country originally, so this was a whole new area topic that he had no idea about. So I asked his input, and this was his that he shared. He didn't know that homeschooling could be fun. He didn't know that there was an exuberant amount of freedom. He's taken off work and come to amazingly fun field trips. When we go on vacations, he didn't know we could tie in homeschool there. He also said, well, okay, this part I added. All right, there is so much freedom in it. There's the wild and free group. We've stepped our toes a little bit into that. There's eclectic. There's, you have your field trips. We have cooking together as a family. We have late school mornings after we've had a late night with friends or family out at dinner. We can get up later. There is so much freedom in this. And number 9, we have the ability to focus on kids' interests. If our kids love dinosaurs, our kids love botany, whatever the topic might be, special art, ballet, dance, whatever, a musical instrument, a specific World War II maybe, whatever the interest is, we have the ability to dive so much deeper into it, whether it might be YouTube videos, going to the library, field trips, whenever we want. Maybe it's extra books, maybe it's extra movies that we can tie in with the books. Maybe it's going to the local art museum. Maybe it's a specific unit study. We can do as many unit studies as we want for what our kids love. And I love to see when my kids have an interest in something specifically. I love to see and foster that desire, that interest, that hobby. And I love to see them get excited to learn and to want to learn more about it. So this is probably one of my top wishes that I had known, is how uniquely tailored we as homeschool parents can make this. If none of us are really feeling the topic, maybe we just graze over it a little more. And if we really love something, we can go hog wild and stay in it as long as we want and do stuff extra outside. So I have loved seeing my kids show interest in certain topics and studies and kind of teasing that out more one-on-one with them or as a group family subject. Last but not least, number 10, the 10th fact of things that I wish I knew before starting homeschool is that I have seen that my kids especially, and other kids around us, homeschool kids seem to have a higher level of self-esteem, confidence, and strong connections with mom and dad and their families. I'm not saying that that does not happen outside of homeschool families, because it does. So let me be clear on that. But I have seen a unique bond with homeschool families in my cohort and in my home myself. My kids and other kids around us seem to know that it's okay to be quirky and fun because we're not bullying other people's kids. My kids are excited to love Pokemon without feeling like a nerd, right? My kids have a higher self-esteem and joyfully share their interest and their loves with each other and kids around. And there seems to be we're blessed to be in a very supportive and loving environment where that's shown back, and kids in our cohort and our siblings and our family reciprocate that. And there seems to also be a very strong connection with the families around us. They are doing movie nights. They are doing so many things to just have a bigger, deeper connection. Bible study at breakfast, family prayers, you name it. And sometimes you would think like, wait, y'all are homeschooled. Haven't you had enough time together? And they're just doing above and beyond more. Not because they're feeling pressured to, but because they want to, they're enjoying it, and they're loving spending time with each other and sharing their interest with each other. And I know as kids grow up, they gain and they want a little bit more independence, especially in the preteen, teen years. But I have still seen a unique bond with the teenagers and the families that I did not see necessarily growing up with friends and other people's families. So I wanted to say that I wish I had known how homeschooling would bless the strong relationships and connections right here in my own home. That's not something that I thought about, and I am beyond grateful and blessed that this is something that I have learned and has happened in our family. So it's also just really encouraging as well to see that in my own home and with friends and family around us. So these are the top 10 facts that I wish, or top 10 things that I wish I knew before I started my homeschool journey. Let me know which fact you resonated with the most. And let me know, is there a fact, is there something that you wish you knew that I did not mention here? Drop it in the comment below. I would love to share in the community with you and to hear from you as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.